You're listening to The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio. Brought to you by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com.
Welcome back to The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, located on 23rd Ave across the street from the Mid-America Center, right there in Council Bluffs. They're online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Get over to Joe's, get yourself some fast-paced white-knuckle racing in while you still can. You can also get down there and maybe even race Bud and Andrew sometimes. Bud, you're down there quite a bit. Andrew, every once in a while?
Every chance I can.
Well, Andrew doesn't hang out there too much anymore. He used to get beat quite a bit. So he kind of gave up.
Well, if there's one thing Bud can do, it's talk. We're joined on the phone this morning by Bill Leighton Jr., driver of the number 24 late model. Bill, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
This is the first time that we've actually had a repeat guy in the studio here, on the phone line this time. But, great to have you back, Bill.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Yeah. Anytime you guys need me, you just let me know. I'll be there.
Awesome. I want to get the very most important question out of the way first. There's been a lot of trash talk going on between Bud and Andrew, and I want to know, for the record, have you actually ever seen the back of Andrew's car?
Whew. He did start in front of me in the heat race the other day. It was just for a little bit.
All right, that's fair enough. Talk a little bit about the history of you. How did you get into racing? How long you been racing? And what kind of trophies have you hoisted above your head?
I started way back when I think I was 10 or 11. My dad did some work for a guy, and he got a go-kart and started racing go-karts. I raced go-karts every summer till I was 18, 19 years old, and then got into Grand National, which they were back then, and it was my dad's. He raced full-time on Sunday, and I raced part-time on Saturday, and got going there. In 2003, started racing full-time, and it's been real good for me. I mean, I've won a lot of races. I've won a lot of championships. It's been great. Kept me out of trouble.
That's probably the most important thing. Have you always driven a late model? As of recently, have you switched up to a late model?
No, I've always driven. I went from a go-kart to a late model. I did last year a couple times drive a modified for a guy, and that went well also. But, yeah, just mainly just late models.
What is the biggest difference you see as a driver driving a late model and then switching to a modified and back over to the late model?
There is no tire on a modified. You can, in a late model, you can really drive the car down into the corner, and that big wide tire will hold you in the corner. Modified, you cannot do that. You'll just slide forever. It's a little more field driving in a modified. The suspension's basically the same, so kind of the traction and the driving is still the same, but it's a little more of a feel into the corner is the biggest difference.
Now this year, if I remember right, this year you're racing the SLMR series. You're traveling around the Midwest here in Nebraska and Iowa doing that.
Yep.
What changes did you make in the off season that made you go to chasing the SLMR series and racing weekly as much as you can?
Well, this year we have completely kind of revamped our whole program. I'm now driving for Mark Wright Racing. I don't do any of my own car anymore. We have 2 cars, 2 motors. We plan on traveling for all the SLMR races, try to hit all the MLRA races and run for the Rookie of the Year and that. We basically had to kind of upgrade our motor program and a lot of our package that we had from last year with the crate late model. It's quite a bit different. Competition's way different, way more stiffer competition. It's going to be a learning thing right now, and we're kind of going through that right now. We haven't had the results that we'd like, but we know it's going to take a little bit, and just keep working at it.
What's the biggest change you see going from racing weekly all year last year in the crate to the SLMR? What's the biggest change that you've noticed?
Well, the competition level's a lot higher. You have to be on your game. I mean, if you're off just a little bit, you're going to lose those 4 or 5 spots. Where maybe in the crates and the weekly stuff, if you weren't quite right, you could drive the car to that top 5 finish. But with the competition that's out there in these bigger classes at these bigger races, I mean, if you're off that little bit, you're not going to get those top 5 finishes that you want.
Now, Bud, basically what he's saying, he's touring the MLRA series this year for Rookie of the Year. That's what Kelly Bowen and the guys that come to town, Dan, the big guys that come to the show are trying to say the silver dollar. That's what he's doing this year. He really upgraded to where the crate shows where I can run. He's saying, well, you know what? The car can be halfway off. He's still going to run good. That's where Bud always gets me at. We've always raced each other in this. Now that he's upgraded so much, he might not win every single race, but he's definitely going to be a top 10 car. Because he's won a couple weeks ago, Bill, by the way, you were our trivia answer question in who's won 3 out of the last 4 state championships. If you can kind of just tell everybody what it's like to win, or like the process, how hard it is to do to win 3 championships out of 4, not just track, state championships. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. Can you just give your experience on that?
No, it's not an easy thing to do. And when you race weekly, you have to kind of commit yourself to doing that for that state championship. And that's basically because you have to go to each track every night that those points count and run that track. And that's a big commitment. And points racing is tough. It wears on you. It gets on your brain. You think about it all the time because you got to make sure the guy behind you isn't catching up. Or you could be racing a guy that's 2,000 miles away from you or Florida or somewhere else. But the biggest thing is making sure that if you're not right, like I just said, if the car is not right, you have to get those top 5 finishes because those bonus points and those points that the NASCAR thing gives you is so big, and you just have to will your way to do it, and you got to keep your head in the game and make sure when you're having an off night, somehow you can find a way to get it there.
Last season, you'd mentioned, Bill, that you were racing as a solo, just yourself racing in the Dirt Series. Now, this year, you've got an owner. Can you talk about the stress changes? I know there's stresses as far as Bill and Andrew are concerned, that when you guys ruin something, it comes out of your pocket. And can you talk a little bit, Bill, about the changes as the pressure and the stress? Because now you've taken that expense away from you, but you've also added some pressure. Can you talk about the differences between the two?
Well, like you said, you don't have the stress or pressure of the money factor as much anymore. I mean, you still don't want to go out there and destroy a guy's stuff and, just keep having him put more money into it. But, I mean, you worry about your finishes more now than whether the car is getting wrecked, because that guy, he wants results. He doesn't want to come out there and spend all this money and do what he does and see you run 15th to 20th. He expects some. If you're expected to run top 5, top 10 car, that's where he wants the car to be. And, hopefully the guy that I drive for, Mark, he's a really understanding guy, and he knows this is kind of our first year doing this, and it's going to be a little rough there at the start, and he's kind of going through it and just, hey, we've had some good finishes, we have some bad finishes, and he just goes through it, says, we'll get there, and that's real calming for me, knowing that he's behind me and knows what we have to do to get to the front, and I got his support, he's got my full support to him. So
now, Bill, there's a lot of people that would love to have, I guess, your situation. I'm kind of in the same boat with my boss where, you've basically gotten a sponsorship, with Mark Wright and being able to drive his cars and his equipment. But at the same time, like Dan had just mentioned, there's pressures there, and you've talked about that, driving this guy's equipment. You don't want to go out there and tear stuff up. You just want to finish, the best you can and finish the race overall. But what do you have to say to the guys that are looking to get to where you're at in racing, driving for someone or looking for someone, to drive for? What's the best piece of advice you can tell these drivers?
Just keep working at it. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, I started when I was 19, and, I kind of had my dad to help me out to get started, and we worked our way and won races and won championships. And then, someday a guy like Mark just comes up and says, hey, you want to come drive my car for me one time and see how it goes? And, you take the chance, you jump on that opportunity, you don't turn it down, you go for it, and you put all you can into that one shot, because that one shot could be what it goes or it doesn't go. So
For the listeners out there that heard that, what sounded like a bird in the background, that's actually Andrew crying back in the corner.
Just thinking about all the stuff he gets to do that I don't get, right, bud?
See, told you.
We're talking this morning with Bill Leighton Jr. here on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Get there at 23rd Avenue. You can also check him out online, joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Again, talking with Bill Leighton Jr., driver of the number 24 late model. Now, last year you drove the 28. Can you talk about the reason why you switched to the 24? Did that have to do with now having an owner, or was that something you've wanted to do?
No, yeah, that's Bark's number. He wanted to keep it, and it doesn't really matter to me what number the car is. I had that number 28 when I started Grand Nationals. When I raced go-karts, I was 10 different numbers. It really doesn't matter to me. As long as the car goes around the racetrack, that's all that matters.
You know, I think I've met Mark Wright one time, and with your question, Dan, I think he told me the reason why it's number 24 is he's actually a huge Jeff Gordon fan.
He is a huge Jeff Gordon fan, but there's other stuff to it too. The town he's from, he lives on County Road number 24, and it's all kinds of stuff that has to do with 24 in his life.
Well,
so.
You're not having a Jeff Gordon season, that's for sure.
No, not yet.
Thank heavens for that. I think you might be out of a ride if you wrecked as many cars as he did right now.
I'd be. Andrew would probably be driving.
Yeah, I could probably take care of that one for you.
I think Andrew's ready and willing to step into that 24 car.
Well, Andrew's got a diecast number 24 going zoom, zoom, zoom.
Which still beats him. It's a diecast, but it's on.
You should see my 24 race car bed.
So, we're still early into the 2012 season. Following the SLMR and driving for Mark Wright, have you gotten a chance to visit a number of different racetracks that you haven't raced in the last 3 or 4 years yet?
I've been to, actually, there's been 3. Corning, Iowa, which I hadn't been to in a year or so, and then Wheatland, Missouri, that's the first time I've ever been there, and Springfield, Missouri was the first time I'd ever been there. And those are both a lot different than what's around here. They're smaller tracks that are a lot different. If anybody ever gets the chance to go to Wheatland, Missouri, they need to go there. It's an unbelievable place.
We've been told that several times.
I think I've said that a few times. Probably my most favorite track out there. Heading up here, turn 3, Bill, do you want to just tell us all what's your most memorable win you've ever had, probably, or memorable moment in racing?
Last year when I won, I really wanted to make 10 wins in the crate thing because I'd never done that before, and that was pretty good. Winning that third state title in 4 years, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I could remember. That probably my first win, that was pretty cool. It's too bad my family wasn't there. Nobody in my family was there. I had my dad's buddy take me racing, and then I ended up winning. That was the first one I ever won.
They must have all been out watching Andrew taking second or third in a heat race somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Bill, thanks so much for joining us this morning. If you could, real quickly, give us a synopsis. What's the future looking like? Any plans on any light at the end of the tunnel? Maybe you're able to upgrade, come up another level, up to maybe a NASCAR level?
Oh, I don't know. We're pretty content where we're at right now. I'm getting a little too old now for that NASCAR level stuff.
Now, don't let them young bucks fool you. You can still turn a car.
What are you, Bill? 27?
Yeah. No, 29, bud. I'm 29.
How old can a person be? 29. Jeez, Bill.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I guess when Bill Leighton goes NASCAR, he'll be sponsored by AARP.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, listen, if Mark Martin can do it, why can't you?
You're right.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. Been talking with Bill Leighton Jr., driver of the number 24 late model. Bill, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Turn 4 just around the corner. This is the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.